could be. You hear people call it cost. I call it coast.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really how people perceive it, because I think it's named just to say Andy is en route at the moment, but he will join and
Okay.
he'll no doubt have things to say as well. It might be something to open up to him as well. But I believe it's named after a place in Afghanistan. So how they say it again, who knows?
Yeah.
There's certain band names which people they say differently all around the world. I mean, I've heard Celtic Frost being called Celtic Frost,
Yeah.
which never fits with me at all. It's like
No.
calling coroner Soriner or something like that to me.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But there you go. You know,
Carcass. Carcass is Sarkis. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I thought of another one today actually. Yeah, De Croix and De Cruz in the 80s, late 80s band,
Yeah.
great band. Is it De Kreutzen or is it De Cruisen, But I
Yeah.
always just say De Cruisen.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we'd be just a cruising.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like a new metal sort of flex.
Yeah. So what got you into like playing music?
Okay. Well, it generally, my awakening was a long time ago, really. It was punk. And it was really that thing, that instinct where you see something and you really, especially as a kid, you don't know if it's right. You
Yeah.
don't know if it's almost legal. That's always the best rock and roll. And seeing Kiss on the TV as well, it just didn't fit on the TV when you grew up and you're watching variety shows
Yeah.
and you're watching, sort of the things your parents watch. And so suddenly you see Kiss, and it would have been Rock and Roll All Night, the video for that. And that was just stunning. It's sort of lo-fi the way it looks now.
Yeah.
And it just looks so out of place. And it's always that sort of paradox where you think, wow, I'm in a living room watching TV, which is normally the place where you watch sort of movies or sort of simple sort of things, TV adverts, dramas, whatever, and suddenly seeing Kiss for the first time. You can't really describe how sort of perverse it was. But it was the same with the Pistols. It really was feral. It really was just like crazy. And anything that made you feel uncomfortable where your parents were watching too is generally a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. You wouldn't take your first date to go and see The Exorcist, or
Right.
Carrie,
Right.
or Alien, or The Shining, or these sort of things. They're just too extreme. And also in a world too where you weren't connected so much the way we are now, you're sort of looking over your shoulders. Is anyone else seeing this? And how did this get through in order to be on mainstream TV? But you hear too, it's the same when Bowie was the first proper top of the pops appearance of David Bowie. Same effect, it just didn't look like it was of this realm. So it would have been those sort of experience. So TV to me is a big one. And I can remember seeing an Alice Cooper TV special for Welcome to My Nightmare,
Yeah.
which was something else because I'd never seen TV subverted before. And when I think of a lot of bands, and especially a lot of LA bands, especially like Guns N' Roses, I thought, I'll bet they're TV guys. Like they grew up watching TV and they wanted to create sort of soundscapes to sort of urban apocalypse.
Yeah.
That's the main thing I picked from it. Like Welcome to the Jungle. It sounded like a gang was going to chase you down the road with sort of hockey masks and baseball bats.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so cool. It just felt like, this was a little bit sort of out of control, you know. But radio also um, became ingrained. So this is like, God, really early 80s. This radio became so key, and listening to radio late night. And I'm sure that Andy would agree with this. Alternative radio, underground radio that was sort of being beamed in, not through commercial channels. That was the coolest.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so if you've got Peel sessions, okay, and all of this stuff was always really late night, and I had school the next day, so I'd be there under the covers literally with headphones on listening. And that's when I first heard Throbbing Gristle and really didn't know what to make of that. Okay. And I always had a little trusty cassette recorder, so anything that came on I would just hit record straight away. I've still got those tapes, and it was just really music that was lifting you out of the day to day. But the Throbbing Gristle session, I think, was Heathen Earth, and that sort of doesn't. It's crystallized in time. It doesn't sound old. You know,
Right.
there's no time to it, which is pretty much a benchmark of a lot of great music. Um, so those sort of late night sessions, and there's countless bands, especially new wave underground bands, which I picked up that way from radio, and also fortunate enough to have some friends who had really cool big brothers.
Mm.
So they were getting a lot of stuff on import, and they were getting it from everywhere. And they look like regular guys, but it was one of these guys that had the pop group album, you know, the pop group.
Yeah.
Why? And that album actually, it downright scared me in terms of when you heard the delivery, the voice, the vocal, you looked at the cover with the Mudmen on the front. It was really like, again, can you do that? You know, it's just really quite out there. The Slits, hearing the Slits for the first time, you know, this real casual sort of music, pop music almost, rhythmic and everything like that. But then you looked at the cover, you think, wow, okay, that's really making a statement. But that goes for a lot of right across the spectrum.
Yeah.
So when you were hearing stuff for the first time, like Cabaret Voltaire, or it could have been Gang of Four, you know, these sort of things, the very early Cure, these were truly mind-blowing to hear. And then when you were old enough maybe to sneak into gigs, you know, maybe 15, 16, you know, that was just, it couldn't be bettered. Metal sort of came along. I mean, metal and hard rock was always there. I personally didn't gravitate to it because I was pretty much punk, but I also wasn't a big fan of a lot of the fans, and the gigs were pretty intimidating. I can remember going to see Motorhead in the early 80s, and I looked in the front door, it was full of bikers, and there was a bad vibe in the air. And I have to say, I'm ashamed to say, I backed off. Um, so the first big sort of metal gig would have been Dio, and that would have been the Sacred Heart tour. And that was sort of crazy because I was very much, even by then, a huge Rainbow fan.
Yeah.
So just Jimmy Bain, you know, and this sort of thing. Plus, you had the full staging of that, the full production with the track and everything. And
See,
I always, yeah, go on.
I can't imagine, you know, well, I mean, I guess I can imagine, you
Yeah,
know, going to like a Motorhead show and being but like intimidated, you know, with all that's going on. Cause it's, you know, that was like one of the hello, Andy. Um
Andy. Oh yeah,
that that was the first, you know, like what I would say a crossover band that had fans on both the
yeah, yeah.
punk and the hardcore side.
Oh
It
yeah.
it was a good like in my mind, it was a really good mesh of like everything that both of those,
Mm.
you know, stood for, like the rebellion of rock and roll at its core, you know?
Oh yeah. Plus, you had a bass as a lead instrument as well, and not just a lead instrument. I mean, I don't think people really sort of give it enough credit now. Again, because people, I think, are a little bit desensitized now, and there's
Yeah.
so much that we see. But that sound and also his vocal, I think, was so extreme. I think in the mix and the actual, how can I say, the overall volume. But that bass sound as well. We know what his backline as well as like is not for the faint of heart.
Right.
I mean, I've got an older relative who claims that an earlier Deep Purple gig, like a really classic era Deep Purple gig, damaged their hearing for life
Mm.
because these are pretty much big Neanderthal 70s PAs. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? These days I'm sure they're fine-tuned to all the frequencies. It's all sort of like, you know, spectral analysis, etc. But those days it was just like pure, it was just pure wattage, you know.
Yeah.
So same with Motorhead, it was, to see them you had to be ready before it. And I think the only band, and there's a connection, is Manowar,
Oh yeah.
because I think they had the sort of connection before they formed the band as road crew themselves. But I hear it was the same deal, that if you saw them, you had to be ready, because they were so loud and so blunt. It's like a blunt force of
Yeah.
hard rock, which is so cool.
Yeah. It's, it's
Huge
so
fan of those.
it's so wild now. Like I just went to see High on Fire
Oh
two
wow,
weeks
yeah.
ago, and they
Oh
are
yeah,
same thing. They're the volume, the sheer volume that they
yeah,
have is like I wear earplugs now
yeah,
because I have tinnitus, and my
yeah.
ears are still ringing from that 2 weeks ago. Oh,
Wow, okay. No, was it very good?
yeah, it was great. They're
Yeah.
fantastic live.
Yeah, and Matt's got short hair now, I believe, as well. It's like he's sort of transformed, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. God, I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, but I
I
love
think,
his voice and his where he comes from as too, because he's very much from the sort of Celtic frost, the heavy sort of the
yeah,
background. But I think he wanted to do his own thing, especially after Sleep.
yeah,
But I could go on about Sleep as well.
yeah.
I won't go there. It's been a great. I think in the '90s was very much ahead of its time. Yeah,
Oh, 100%. And it's like so many people still reference, like today, they still reference sleep as like, this huge influence over so much of the music today, which they absolutely
yeah.
are, right?
Mhm.
So to see that and to know like with Jerusalem, it was one, essentially one song for the
Yeah, yeah.
whole album. Like who who would think of that? Like I would never think of that in
And
my mind.
who could do it too? Who could arrange it? Because I doubt they were writing it down when
Right.
there were the changes,
Yeah.
and I doubt it was a jam. And I've always wondered, how the hell did you arrange this whole thing? Because it's perfect end to end too, as well. But I think for the '90s, it's one of the big statements. Like
Yeah.
it's really important, like to go down in the history books.
Yeah. It's, and I think like every era has that artist too, right? That just it speaks volumes over everything else that's going on, which is fucking fantastic. Looking
Yeah, yeah.
back to The Cure, even today, right? They still influence so many people, and we're what, 40
Yeah, yeah.
something years later,
Mm.
which is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible, and especially with the way that a lot of like if the Deftones wave came along, and bands became a lot more sort of introspective, a lot more soulful, and it was almost like the Cure. They loved the Cure as well, because this was a band that was like emotional and emotionally intense, and they
Yeah.
could take it to their way. And as an influence, I mean, I really like that, and I love how that wave of bands sort of almost reacts back to them as well sometimes,
Yeah.
while doing their own thing as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of the shoegaze came from like that early era, like Cure. It really influenced a lot of that. So to see even today where bands are with shoegaze, like you talk to any of the gaze bands and they throw back, to a lot of that shit from the early and mid 80s. Like, man, this was a huge influence. So
Oh,
it's
it's so cool. Bands
yeah,
like Nothing as well.
yeah,
Again, just a really big wall of sound, and the harmonies. Everything's great.
yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
So
really love that stuff.
what got, well, Andy, like now that you're here, let's chat with you for a quick second. Um, the first question that I asked Damien is, how do you pronounce the band name?
Well, what did Damien say? That's the
Uh,
interest.
I can't tell you. I can't tell you at all.
I I go for Coast.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think because it's Afghan, it's probably pronounced differently. It's probably got some sort of accent on the like a
yeah,
Khost.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, Coast.
Okay.
Ghost like Ghost with a K.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. That's what Damien said too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
See, you guys like the same mind. Do do do.
yeah,
yeah.
Um, it,
Quite a few people say it's Cost, but no, I think Coast definitely.
I think Coast feels, it feels more like a coast from looking at looking at how it's spelled, you know, just
It
like,
looks good too as a logo too, because it just hangs there and
yeah,
it just looks at you. Boom, you know.
yeah, yeah, it's super cool. Um, so Andy, what got you into like music? What were some of your like early influences?
Um, Going back when I was a teenager, I guess punk originally, and then I heard Throbbing Gristle, and that just changed everything for me. I was just like, what on earth is this? And it sort of threw me into all those other bands that sort of followed, Whitehouse, Rambler, and the bands that were still going, Cabs, SPK. That sort of era was my explosion of music, really. That whole post punk, where anything sort of went, it was, yeah, it was amazing. So
Yeah,
yeah, TG were the ones for me.
right on. Well, that's, it's funny, like now, I still listen to a lot of less popular music, I guess I would say. And when you look at bands like Throbbing Gristle or Skinny Puppy or, hell, even, Ministry and the Revolting Cocks and so on and so forth. Their early days, I feel, are like the most influential. And, kind of going back to what Damien was saying earlier about, these timeless, I'm going to call them pieces of art, because that's what they are, they still influence people today, and you listen to it and it sounds just as fresh 30, 40 years later, that,
Yeah,
as it did when it was day one.
yeah. When you think some of them are 40 years, whatever it is, and you think, wow, you put that on now and it just sounds current.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's fantastic. And it's, the bad thing for the kids today is they didn't get to like find that and experience it on their own. But the
Yeah,
good thing is they have that at their fingertips today, so they can still dig in and really like go, oh, I dig this, or whatever that is,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. It is a lot easier these days to, someone mentions a band and you can hear them with a second.
Yeah.
Back then, if someone mentioned a band, it was, oh, can you tape the album for me? Or hope that Peel played it, you could hear it, or Enemy might do a review if you were lucky,
Yeah.
or you take a gamble and just buy a record on the off chance that it was good.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
how many records did we all buy because the art looked really cool?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely loads.
And then
And
you get home and you're like, God, I hope this doesn't suck,
oh
Yeah,
yeah, I had a few turkeys as well, which
Yeah.
basically I would literally spend hours in the record store with limited funds, including lunch, transport money. It was all going to go on the record, and you were agonizing over maybe two or three. The cover was a big factor. I can remember sort of weighing up like Ultravox and I think it was Richard Hell and all these other things, but you had too much choice, and it was literally hours sitting there waiting to make to make the decision. And yeah, I did regret it a few times, mostly not though.
Yeah.
yeah. I
Well,
remember buying a Discharge single at the record
Yeah,
shop. Used to have all the 7-inch singles on the wall, and
cool.
I really wanted the one with the leather jacket, the studs, and the Discharge on the bottom painted. But I didn't know what record it was, and I was too young to sort of say, "What's that one?" So I would go in every
Yeah,
week asking for, "How can I get Fight Back or whatever?" And they'd get the wrong, I'd get, take it home, and it was an amazing record, but it wasn't the art that I wanted. I wanted that specific thing, and I eventually got it after about 3 attempts. But yeah, that was the art that drew me. It's that jacket,
yeah.
amazing.
yeah, that I feel like those were really influential days for a lot of us, because we had the ability, we didn't have the ability to just type it into Google or Spotify or whatever and go, oh, I'm going to listen to that. Like we actually had to dig in and find, you know, we had to find a good artist, and then we had to find, just like you had to find which album it was that you really wanted. And
Yeah,
at $20 a piece back then, you're like, oh shit, or $10 or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Oh, a
yeah.
huge consideration.
Yeah. So let's talk about Khost for a minute. You've got the new album. has it been released or it's getting ready to come out?
It's about a week officially. I think they've sent copies out, but officially it's the 20th.
Okay. And I'm like, I think we're close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that process like for you guys, like writing and recording it?
A lot of it was sort of playing songs live and sound checking, and we had this a lot in the early days. We'd play songs live and there'd be something else in the background almost. It was odd sort of sounds and feelings and tones. And we were like, "Well, were you doing that?" I was like, "No, weird. No,
Yeah.
where
Generally,
did
it's a
that come
discussion
from?"
after
So
the
we sort
show.
of experiment to try and get that back again. And a lot of the stuff now is based around that, from odd stuff that's happened live and sound checks and stuff that we've thought, wow, what's going on there? And it's just evolved into tracks as they are now.
Yeah. We tried a few different things too, in terms of things which maybe don't have the usual sort of slower sort of tempo. Sort of tapping into the post-punk vibe. Maybe you can hear a bit of DAF here and there, but also it's always a lot of fun working up, evolving the tracks which may have spoken word, or the tracks that have guests. You know, we've done a lot of those over the time, and they're really enjoyable. And it's a situation where we connect with the person and talk to them, and we pretty much, yeah, we evolved the idea. That was the one, especially with Axebreaker. We played with Axebreaker in the States, and we found him completely mind-blowing. Just the absolute commitment to what he does, and just the way the sound works, because you do see a lot of acts where you've got somebody screaming or they've got a lot of power electronics, blah blah blah, but this is really, really different. This is really organic, and it really is something where you've got your mouth open watching, like, wow, it's just huge, overwhelming, great stuff. So to work with him is a real privilege. And that we evolved that track to fit, and sort of had to battle it, you know, to come on to match what he does. It was really good fun. It's similar with Overrun, which is Manuel, who's a long time friend from Europe. We've worked together in the past. He's also worked with Oxbow, Melt Banana, these sort of people, and he's got this great voice. He appears on a previous album as well, but same thing, trying to evolve a scenario with him as well. So yeah, we basically, with all the tracks, we will basically, Andy will take care of a lot of the overt guitar driven sort of tracks. But we always sort of go back and forth in terms of how to evolve them, how to sort of how to add to them, and any other sounds, any other samples we can add to as well. It comes together organically.
That's, I like when music comes together organically.
Yeah.
It's it doesn't sound obviously forced, at the end of the day either. It's people, it's a more warm and welcoming sound where people just kind of dig into it and let it, like, take me on your journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get,
it is a journey.
as Andy said, we get a lot from the live experience too.
Yeah. We play a lot of the samples live, the spoken word, so it's almost like these people are there in the room with us. The Stephen Burrows, who does Tunnels of R, and he was in Head of David. He's done a few spoken word bits, and he's featured quite a lot in the sets. He's got this real nice sort of local accents, but it's got something that he adds to it. It sounds a little bit nasty almost, but it's amazing, and you hear it through big speakers, and you're like, wow, it's Stephen doing his stuff. Yeah,
that track Andy's talking about, it's called there's one particular called Night Air, it's off the previous record, and it's just a little bit of a it's a short story, if you want. It's basically a person who's pretty paranoid. You can tell they're paranoid and probably can't sleep, and they're convinced there's people upstairs who are out to do something, and they're coming and going, and he starts to almost track what they're up to upstairs. And the band sort of intervenes every now and again, sort of breaks up the segments in the story, you know. Anyway, we did a Brutal Assault year before last, I think it was. It was great, you know. It was a really really cool setup, you know. Well, you know, that's always the case, isn't it? It's a great location, and the time of night, maybe it was around midnight or something like that. It was just great to hear through a really solid PA, to hear Stephen narrating, you know, like that. As Andy said, it's like a bit of an old crackly 1970s late night drama on TV. That's what he sounds like, you know.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
So like, when you guys start writing it, do you go in with like, hey, we want to go after, we want to be a little more electronic or a little more guitar driven on this track?
Good question. I tend to go for whatever I've been listening to recently. So if I've listened to sort of a really harsh noise track, I'll be listening to harsh noise. So I'll make a sort of a harsh noise, or if it's something ambient, maybe Soviet France or something, I might try something that, and then but it always ends up with myself with a riff over the top. So it could start from a White House angle or a Soviet France angle, a TG angle, but it always ends up with a riff at the end of it, usually with me. And Damien comes up with all the amazing sort of lo-fi VHS beats and vocals that sound as if they're from another world, and it meshes together really, really well. Not sure how, but it does.
Yeah, because we don't want to just have an album where it's just track, you know, just like you know, a collection of tracks. It's always meant to be soundscapes, so you can hear dogs barking, you can hear people talking in the background, all sorts of things. But we take chances too, because like Andy said, there'll be harsh noise, this sort of thing, and that generally is the way the set usually starts. But Andy also will play cornet, like a trumpet type instrument, which harks back again, throbbing gristle, this post-punk sort of time. So you've got this sort of big delayed like trumpet horn sound comes in too, which isn't sort of, it's not really the standard metal sort of thing, you know. And
not at all.
It's one thing to talk about this sort of stuff, but like we've had reel-to-reels on stage, all sorts of things, you know, mini projections, screens, stuff like that on stage. So it's not your traditional sort of metal setup, but it still fits in, you know, because it's just great to use the stage in whatever way you can, you know, to make the most of the staging and the lighting too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really get off on that, right? When it's not just like, of course, I do like the traditional band, right? Guitar, bass, drums, vocalist, but I also like when you have other aspects in there too, with the lighting or theatrics, or, you know, just a video playing on the back screen. Maybe it's an old horror movie or something that fits really well with the music, because it makes you think, and it becomes a submersive experience and not just you know.
And some of these venues too, sorry Andy,
sorry, go on, that's fine.
No, some of the venues too, especially in Europe, they're really built for it as well, because you may end up in a venue which is just a really old, could be an old warehouse, you know, it looks like somewhere like Einstürzende Neubauten would have played or something like that, and you want to make the most of that, you know, big brick interior, scaffolding, this sort of stuff, you know. There's so many fantastic venues that you want to, it's great to get projections on the walls and make the most of it.
Yeah, again, right, you get people involved because they're just completely immersed in this, you know, in the whole project.
Absolutely.
Andy, you were going to say something. Did he freeze?
I think he's coming back.
Yeah,
It's a Ouija board moment.
that's my connection's not really good.
The forces have intervened.
Yeah. They're like,
Yeah,
hold on.
Paranormal.
It's in the cables again.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a live post show. It's just like a post
Yeah,
show.
this is the thing.
Weird stuff.
We did have one of those once where the sound was doing its own thing. We had to wing it. I think because there were some issues. It still was a pretty interesting show, but let's not go there.
Well, it's, you know, it's good to be in that, to have that ability though, too, right? Because
Yeah, yeah.
you get a regular band on stage, you know, or a traditional band on stage, and something doesn't go right, it doesn't go right.
Man.
And the whole
Yeah,
sound
yeah.
is, you know, the whole night is kind of fucked at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
How many shows a year do you all typically play?
It was a lot more before COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We were doing regularly, I don't know, 40 something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. Every
Probably
other
more,
month, pretty
probably more
much.
than that, yeah. COVID put a stop to a lot of it for a lot of people, and the whole Brexit thing with England's coming away from Europe has stopped the easiness of getting to the Europe. But I think that's seems to be getting easier now. So and we've got a new booking agent who's sorting us out shows in Europe, so that will start happening again very soon. So that'd be
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So Europe's just amazing. To, like Damien said, the venues, old churches, stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we had more stuff like that here.
It was still great in America because we played. We only realized last week we played at St. Vitus in New York, which was awesome on a Saturday night. And then we found out St. Vitus is gone. You know,
Yeah.
which is it's a huge shame. If you look, because I was thinking about, I think Anthrax played there, but I was thinking the other day too, Killing Joke would have played there as well.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, yeah. And I started thinking about what's happening with Killing Joke now as well. But either way, the sort of the bands that played there, you know, it's such a fantastic list. But we loved playing the American shows.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really enjoyed playing St. Vitus. I mean, it was
Yeah.
around about 10 years, you know, and to see that really like go away is it's tragic, you know, like
Yeah, very much.
as crazy as it sounds, you know, they did the like Nirvana reunion there at St. Vitus.
Wow.
So, you know, I think that they're going to find a new place and get something good up and going. But man, to lose all the history that it had there is like, oh shit.
Yeah, yeah, very bad.
Yeah.
I've YouTubed a lot of shows from there as well. Just really love it. But what I picked up, the atmosphere, it felt really like a good place to work. You know,
Yeah.
Birmingham especially is a bit of a, you know, it's a real rock town as well. And we go back there with the sort of nightlife, if you want, Birmingham, the venues and so forth. It's got legendary places, and you pick up, like, so walking into St. Vitus, you picked up that this has got the same caliber. You know, it's really great when you walk into a proper rock place.
Yeah.
It just feels good, and it's got the right sort of vibe about it, and the staff are great. You know, the merch was great. You know, it just felt good, really good buzz, great sound guy, you know, really friendly, immediately like straight onto it. And yeah, so yeah, let's hope that they do resurface.
I think that they will. I mean, everything that I'm seeing, it I think they're on a good path, you know, considering, right? They're on a good path to find a place and get a new place open, which
Cool.
I hope it's sooner rather than later, because, you know, I feel like we lose so many venues so fast over here. Like
Yeah,
vendor.
same.
Oh yeah, you guys deal with that a
Same.
lot also.
Yeah, there's always. I think the Leg Mill was one of the big ones that closed recently, and I mean, so legendary bands that played there, it's gone. There's an old one called Moles where Robert Wyatt used to play. It's gone. Real proggy sort of venue, all the original prog bands. Or a history
Yeah,
that
I
place
mean,
must have just happening everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah.
property development as well. I think you hear all sorts of cynic, it's a probably cynical type thing. And in terms of, obviously the real estate's a lot more, it's valuable, isn't it? So people suddenly sort of move in, but I always believe it pops up somewhere else, just really believe in that. And also there's new waves of people that will say, well, if that's gone, we'll just open up something down the road.
Yeah. Well, which is the way it should go. Cause I
Yeah,
think, we're raised to be within this,
exactly.
this box. And when we can have the ability to get outside of it and go to a show or create, I think it helps keep the youthfulness
I agree.
in the brain.
Yeah.
So, you guys with the new booking agent, do you have plans to tour with the new album?
It's evolving as
We've got a
as
week.
we speak. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a week's UK tour booked for mid-November for a week. So Scotland, north of England, Midlands, London. With the guys from Texas, Deep Cross. We did a split record with them a couple of years back, and they're coming over to do a reciprocal tour. Really, they arranged the tour for us in the States, so we've sorted them a tour over here. So that should be fun seeing those guys again.
Yeah, really good. They're a great band.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was listening to the split today with you guys. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah. That was a great experience to see them, and you're with great people, and they were great it was great in the van as well because the music, um, the variety, the stuff we were listening to is just awesome. Really, really great, and a lot of discoveries too on the way. We were sort of throwing ideas around like different styles, different artists. So yeah, we're on the same page, I guess.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
What's
always
that
cool when you can do that. Get in
artist?
the. Oh, what was that, Andy?
Sorry, no, I just wonder. I can't remember what that rap artist was they were playing that was big in Texas.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
Um,
I loved it.
that really
It's
sort of slowed down, warpy sort of stuff. I can't remember. Totally off topic. Sorry.
Not off topic at all. Like we're talking about music, and Deep Cross and that.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
yeah. We'll look
I
at
can't remember. Was it DJ Screw or something like that? Or
yeah, it is
was that the
Screw. Yeah,
name?
yeah.
DJ
And
Screw.
yeah, big
Amazing,
story about it. Very
amazing stuff.
druggy, menacing hip hop.
okay.
Yeah, it was great. And that sort of stuff when you especially listen driving through the night is really great. We're listening to a lot of dungeon rap as well. Really, really slowed down druggy hip hop stuff, usually from Ukraine and Russia and these sort of places, European artists, who are all got extremely mysterious profiles online.
Yeah.
DJ Bishop, these sort of people. It was great.
There was a guy I saw. It was a rapper. I think his name is Pulpek. Now he's like huge, but like to see really the behind the music is what attracted me to it because this dude would just get. I mean, he was like the Lemmy of hip hop, just always drinking and drugging and cruising down
Oh
the
yeah.
road at 200 miles an hour, and you're like, what the hell? This guy's like, yeah, 3 hours. We got 3 hours to make a 6 hour drive. Go fast. Like, oh shit.
Oh, it's great.
That always cracked me up. So you guys got the tour coming up in November, going
Yeah.
out with Deep Cross for a week. Are you working on doing anything for the US maybe in 25?
It would be amazing to do it again. Maybe a West Coast thing, I don't know if it's possible, but
Yeah.
if anyone wants to sort something out, we definitely
Yeah,
do it.
well, to watch this space, I think, because I know
Yeah,
deep groups that they like, especially to get down south where they're from.
yeah,
And I'm a big fan of that sort of the music, sort of Austin, Nashville, Houston, all those sort of areas to me are great, you know. But yeah, absolutely watch this space.
All right.
yeah. Hopefully. We could go and see George Jones. He's at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
house.
We listen to
Game.
George Jones. We throw on some country every now and again.
All right. Well, you guys make it to Nashville, you've got to do like the country music museum stuff. They've got some
Oh yeah.
pretty nifty stuff in there. Um, that's that Nashville is such a crazy like scene in itself. Uh-oh. Did I freeze this time?
Rockers to me sometimes. You know, sort of Waylon, Johnny Paycheck,
Yeah.
all these people, you know, they're so dangerous. And what they used to get up to, you know, and you know the personal habits and all this sort of stuff that's another discussion.
Yeah.
But so much fun to listen to, and lyrically, you know, it's so raw, it's incredible. But yeah, cool.
Yeah, there's I feel like there's a lot of that, especially when you get into the lesser known or the underground bands, because there's no um preconceived notions that you have to fit in this box, right? They're like, well, shit, I want to play, metal or punk or whatever, and it's just whatever they feel comes out.
You feel there's so much of that now. I think that sort of fusion, which is really exciting. You know, it's sort of like you can hear somebody who's ferocious metalcore, but then they'll go into some blissed out section with harmonies and beautiful sort of shoegazy type sections. You know, so it
Yeah,
really is anything goes. You know,
yeah,
um,
it's
I
such a
love that.
fantastic time for music,
Yeah, it is. It really, really is
because
exciting.
you can just take
Yeah,
whatever
I
and do
agree.
whatever.
Yeah,
I agree.
we do sort of like doom shows, and we'll still do the noise stuff, and people love it. Or you could do a noise show, and we do the sort of metal stuff, and it's this total clash, but people are really open minded, and they'll sort of take it on board, and it just accepts it for a performance, which is really refreshing.
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago where you'd boo a support band, everyone would be throwing stuff at the stage. No one seems to do that anymore. I don't know
No.
if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know, but it never happens anymore.
No,
Uh,
I think they really try to get into it, which is great for any artist that's going to put themselves out on stage and perform, because shit, when you got booed, it was like, oh, we suck. We better,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, it just doesn't happen now. We got a friend, Joe Quayle, who plays cello on the album,
Hmm.
and she tours with lots of metal bands now as support, and she gets an amazing reception. So it's fantastic.
Yeah.
She goes on, plays a cello, and then next band on with like a black metal threat, and people just love it. Just love
Yeah.
that clash of influences.
Because a lot of especially the black metal stuff, that stuff's always been based on atmosphere, and people love it when the black metal bands, they bring in the sort of like, well, it's the dramatic music, isn't it? At the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's lo-fi, and we love it when it's like lo-fi and buzzy and nasty, whatever. But it's all about atmospheres. I mean, if you listen to Immortal, it's just great because you really feel like you're in a blizzard.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing with these sort of artists when they come in, like Joe, and come in with atmospheres. I think a lot of bands, and I think, yeah, in a previous time, it wouldn't have been tolerated so much by some audiences, but now it's gone the opposite way. And I think if an artist was heckled for maybe being a bit sort of avant-garde or different, whatever, I think they'd be pretty much ostracized by the audience, if you know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
like you can't do that. You got to let them go.
Yeah.
I can remember I was talking to a friend once. It was a very lo-fi gig, a very, very lo-fi, super, super serious audience. And I was quickly mentioning something about a track to my friend, and I was told by somebody in front, shush, be quiet. And I thought, I'm speaking really softly. But it was that sort of thing where it's become extremely extremely tolerant, and anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It
Yeah. I
was
mean,
cool.
back, hell, not even that long ago, 15,
Yeah,
20 years ago, when you went to a show to see a band, every other band on there was some form of the same style of music,
yeah,
whereas now it's you get a lot more crossover, right? Something metal with something punk with something noise, which
yeah, yeah.
is fuck, it's good for my palate, because I don't want to be,
It is.
Yeah,
I
I
want
love
to
shows like that.
experience all of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you get a noise artist, then someone on an acoustic guitar, then you get a thrash band, and then you get the headliner that's some warp techno or something. It's amazing, just really good.
Mm.
Love shows like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So if you guys had like one artist, they said, "Hey, you can open up for anyone," who would you want to let go on tour with?
Great question. Thanks for throwing that at us.
Yeah. I'm going to take a look at my record collection now.
I take okay. How about Converge?
Okay.
Because I could talk about Brian Eno or Creator or something like that, or Metallica. So Metallica would be a lot of fun, because you imagine
Oh
the
yeah,
sort of the firepower there.
Yeah.
Plus, they are very much, I think, as people, they're pretty open, and they've got a great spirit, I think. But Converge, for me, like, as somebody who pretty much threw down something, it must be 20 years ago when Jane Doe
Yeah.
came out. Basically, that really is mind blowing, and there's a whole run of great albums, and if you check them out, what they did at Outbreak in Manchester 23, I think it was, it's just wild. They just utterly annihilate, and but the songs are great. Um, they I really love that sort of hardcore, post-hardcore. There was a band from the 90s called Unwound. Unwound, to me, I will listen to a lot, and their final album is something else. It's one of those special ones. It's got a real it's got its own place, it's got its own space, and they've reformed, they are now. But in answer to your question, I guess Converge, because just electric, really amazing.
Yeah. Crazy, crazy live shows.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
or
Andy, what
Taylor
about you?
Swift.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't
Oh yeah.
it? Yeah, do the full Khost experience on a stage. That'd be fun.
And dancers.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose it'd have to be like. There's not many bands going now that I mean, it would be TG, but it'd have to be Chris and Cozy, I suppose. They're the only ones who are left.
Yeah.
From that era. Maybe Neubauten from that era. If we can get the Cabs back together, or SBK, maybe one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
White House, that'd be fun.
We'll just start making some calls. Hey, Coast is looking for someone to headline for them. You guys, yep, okay. We'll get you out there.
Definitely.
Let's do it.
That's the shout. Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
Well,
those,
high on fire as well, as you talk about High on Fire,
oh, yeah.
because just to be part of that sort of onslaught,
I'm telling you, like that is such a, like their live show is so loud and pummeling. Like I saw him, a couple weeks ago, and the crowd there's a little bit of mosh pitting, but it was a pretty mild crowd. But I saw him in May, in Michigan, and that crowd, they were like crushing each other up against that stage. Like it looked like people couldn't breathe. So crazy.
wow, I love
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
That's the
Like
way. That's the way.
that's it. When you can get a band up there that's loud, got just fantastic musicians and can get the crowd that involved, is like, holy shit,
Yeah.
I think that's what everyone like strives for.
Oh yeah. I think
Do you get,
Sabbath would be a good one as well.
oh yeah.
Opening for Sabbath, that'd be quite That'd be quite good.
You know, I hear they're going to do 2 final shows over in your neck of the woods.
Oh wow.
Oh wow, that'd be, because they keep going on about they're going to play at Villa Park, which is the local football team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been the rumor for ages, but no.
Yeah, a couple years. Well, like I guess Ozzy wants to move back, but every time he tries to leave, he goes under like medical care or something. They're like, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I never get it.
I mean, shit, all those years of all the drugs and alcohol, I guess it's
Yeah.
taking its toll. He's what's mid-70s now, right?
It must be. It must be. Tony Iommi still looks good. Still looks
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. All the cocaine preservatives kept him looking.
Yeah.
You read the book.
Yeah. Or maybe he
Yeah.
snorted the book.
That's an eye opener.
Yeah, for sure. So you might have a chance there. Hey, Sharon, if you're watching, you know, these
That's the
guys
one.
will open the show.
That's
Yeah,
the one.
she definitely pulls the strings. So do you guys have like goals or thresholds with the release of the new album?
Ooh,
It's a
not
wait and see.
specifically. If people enjoy it, well, I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but if people are into it, that's great. And if it gives us the opportunity to do another one, that's great as well. So
Okay.
Because as I say, that it's not just an album like a collation of tracks. It's not just that sort of thing. They never really are. And so to see what people make of it.
I think Damien didn't you put
Yeah.
something together where you thought it was a bit like going into some late night
Yeah.
warehouse nightclub, and you're not sure where you are, and you're sort of wandering around. It's half museum, half warehouse,
Yeah.
half club.
Yeah, we're saying
And
this.
you go into a different room, and there's something going on, and you wander back out again, and it's supposed to be an experience rather than an album.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put that in an interview that basically when you go some clubs and some festivals, you know, there'll be a main arena and a main room, but you'll have other rooms, you know, smaller ones, where there'll be something places, there'll be something happening in the other rooms, and it's pretty much what's happening in this. And so similar to that experience, you don't know what you're in for.
That's
So
true.
we just like people to hear it and enjoy it, and yeah, and basically, but it's just always like keep moving, keep writing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's good. I think that's how all artists should be, is like keep going, keep writing, keep putting it out. And I like, you know, one of the things I like about, I'm always gonna, you know, look at a full album because I like vinyl because it's again, it's like that immersive experience. You get there with the artwork, and you know,
Yeah, I agree.
you can read all the lyrics and you listen to it from front to back. You
Yeah,
you don't skip a track, and it's a
Yeah.
it's a complete piece of art and not a collection of singles, you know.
yeah. A to B as well. There was so many things where you went through the side A of a record, and you really thought, right, we're going through something, and now we're going to go over to the other side B. For that, I mean, that to me is like that's like a book, right, waiting to be written, of albums that have that A and B side experience.
Yeah.
Because that was everything growing up, you know. And it was Eno who I think was the first one to realize when CDs came along, you didn't have A and B anymore. So
Right.
for the CD, I think it was Thursday Afternoon, he just did one track. He thought, right, that's what I'll do, rather than again just having an album on CD. I'll make something for that format, which I thought was great. And there's been a few albums like that, and we mentioned Jerusalem and everything like that in terms of, but just to have that sort of experience, I think is really interesting. But in terms of vinyl as an experience, and looking at the artwork and look at the lyrics and reading all the credits as well.
Yeah.
Like Frost, you know, you'd look and they'd list the road crew, they'd list all these mysterious people. I think Pleasure to Kill with Creator, you had not just a list of personnel, but all the zines at the time. And so this is an era of pre-internet. Obviously, it's 80s, which is all tape trading, and all these insane underground zines from like South America, for example, all over the world. And me being me, I used to write to some of these places and just, you know, and just see what happened. And sometimes you get a response, whatever. I think the Napalm Death guys were into that as well. I think Shane Embry was
Yeah.
big on the tape trading. And that was great, you know, to see if something would pop through your letterbox, you know. But in terms of being part of the artwork, I thought that was so cool, you know, because a lot of them had really exotic names, a lot of the magazines as well.
Oh yeah. Well,
That
and
was,
you could read through
yeah,
like the thank yous, and they're thinking a band that you've never heard of too, and it's like, oh
yeah,
shit, I need to go
yeah,
like check that out. So like
absolutely.
those, God, you can tell we're old because that's how we, that's how we found stuff. But it was always super cool. I really miss the tape trading because it was you get something in the mail and you're like, oh, like I hope all this is good, and you get a couple of really good things on there, like holy shit, that
Yeah,
track was so good, and then you write to that band and you dig into their stuff because you couldn't just Google, like the
no,
Decemberist. Oh, let me see what they're about. Like
Yeah.
you had to really seek it out and find it, and that's maybe that's why I still do this, like always trying to find
oh
something
yeah,
new and
that's so
interesting.
cool. I mean, you get some of those tapes, and I had there was one a renowned band, and all it was somebody had set up a ghetto blaster in their rehearsal space, and they were just blasting. You know, it was like, you know, full speed blast beats and stuff like that, and it sounded like it had all this reverb from the room, but I couldn't stop listening to it. If I had bought that in another context, I may have thought, oh, the production's not so good or something
Right.
like that, which is just rubbish. But
Yeah.
because it came this way, you just loved it, you
Yeah.
know, and loved the artwork, which is all homemade, you know. Um, but I also think, because we haven't touched on tapes, we still will do tapes from time to time, and they really are, you know, people buy them, they're still consumed.
Yeah.
And that was the thing on the American tour. Some of the people we played with had tapes, which
Mm.
I was, you know, I was buying, and it's just great to have them, you know, and you know, this sort of anyway, it's another medium, you know, it's great.
Yeah. Well, and to see it all come kind of back, full circle, because
Oh yeah.
like there are a lot of artists that are doing tapes now, and it's like I don't collect tapes because the last thing I need is to collect another thing, you know. I've got so many records as it stands. If I started doing tapes, my wife would be like, "Are you fucking nuts?" Like, yeah, yeah. But so something I think you guys did, and correct me if I'm wrong, on your CD, you put some added like tracks on there, correct?
On
Yeah.
the new album, yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of extra tracks on the CD. Sort of reinterpretations, remixes, if you like, added little snippets of sound. The CD is probably, if the album's a journey, the CD is like a journey to another world, because
Yeah,
it's
another
it's
departure,
extra.
isn't it?
There's lots more going on. Yeah,
Mm.
That's cool.
just to add more context to it and more flavors, if you like.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really neat because again, right? Obviously, we're older, so like back when, they would like on a CD, you'd have the bonus track or you'd have that hidden track on a tape that you had to wait until the very end to catch that minute and a
Yeah.
half or whatever it was. So to add that when an artist does that, I fucking really enjoy that. I'm like, holy shit, that's cool. I'm gonna buy that just because it has that, but I'm also, gonna get this other piece that doesn't have it. So you have both versions.
There's
That's
one
cool.
track as well, which it is on the CD, which wasn't intended for the album. It's quite it's quite slow at the end. Slow. It's well, most of the tracks are slow, but this one's just got a different feel. And it was just a late night one where we were talking about Pink Floyd, and I came over this bass line, and it wasn't intended to be on the album, but it ended up there just because of the atmosphere.
Mhm.
So that one is an example of just something that we, going back to the writing process, we'll discuss something, we'll come up with something and see if it works, or, you know, if it just comes from thin air, you know, this is what happens.
Yeah, I really like Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I did just see a video of David Gilmour's daughter performing in a pub, and he showed up with his guitar
Wow.
Yeah.
and played with her. Like, what a
Yeah.
what a cool fucking experience for all the people in that venue.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Do you play?
Yeah, they did. What did they do? I want to say they did like,
Yeah.
huh?
You might be breaking up.
I think
but
it was. I think it was that, and it was in a tiny.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little tiny place.
love it.
Super cool.
Very big fan of live at Pompeii.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Me too. What a great,
We're both
like,
pretty obsessed with the live at Pompeii video as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
That's the one.
that's the, I think for many fans of Pink Floyd, that's the one, you know, because who else has done something even close to that?
It's a beautiful thing, and it's also going back to the very beginning when we were talking too, and the medium, like it's meant to be shown in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when people used to see Song Remains the Same, Led Zepp, it was a cinema thing. And so you got to hear Led Zeppelin through really loud speakers, you know, which is so cool. But it was the same with Pink Floyd. If that was happening at the cinema, then you went to see it because it was big and crackly and analog sounding. And it's really got something extra, I think. It's picked up something from the air around Pompeii.
Mm-hmm.
It's picked up something because there's a vibe there. It's a beautiful vibe. I've been there once. I did go to the amphitheater. Oh gosh, you're being attacked.
Yeah, she's like, I don't even know what she wants. I just fed her. Hey,
This isn't good.
she's like, pay attention to me. But then she just lays down and she's fine.
Oh, cats are great.
Yeah, yeah. They love you with their nails and
Oh
everything.
yeah, yeah. Draw blood.
Yeah. Like, shit, you asshole. But I
Oh
love
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. Damien, Andy, I greatly appreciate you guys taking time out of your evening
you.
to come and chat with me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, great stuff. Yeah, really
Yeah,
cool.
thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to the new album when it arrives at my doorstep. And, you know, I look forward to hearing what else comes from you guys in the future.
Wicked.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Hell yeah. Have a great night, guys.
And
Speak
you.
soon.
Okay, thanks.
Cheers.
See you soon.
Thanks. See ya.